as the Zoom master, and then I will hand control back to our president, Emmy Bartholomew.
Thank you. I got it out of order. Won't be the last time probably either. Okay, so welcome everyone. And we're going to be doing something really fun today. At least I'm looking forward to it, which is our barnstorming event. And our Toastmaster for the day is Karen Magda. So I'm going to turn this over to her and let her run the show. Go, Karen.
Thank you, Madam President. Well, I'm excited for tonight. This is all about taking humor to the next level, developing it right on the spot, and utilizing a facilitator and utilizing the audience to do it. So it's a little bit different than a standard meeting. So the way tonight will work is we will have 3 speakers. There will be Mary will be our first speaker, Emmy will be the second, and Kyle will be the third. Each of these speakers is going to take 1 minute to pitch an idea for humor. So it could be a situation, it could be a comedy routine, it could be a speech. They're going to pitch an idea related to humor. This then will be followed by a facilitator who will help with the use of the audience as well to help that person develop it right on the spot. We're going to develop their idea into a humorous speech, and then we will have 14 minutes for that portion of it. So you'll be working it right on the spot. Then after our speakers go, we will have, let's see, is there a break right then? Let me double check.
Karen,
Yes.
if I may interrupt, I don't know if
Absolutely.
Robin still wants to participate, but when he registered, he asked if he could basically have us brainstorm a speech with him too.
Oh, perfect. So we have 4 speakers.
Yeah.
All right. That is even better. Oh,
Let's
I'm
let Robin be
excited.
speaker 3.
Okay. So speaker 3 will be Robin. Oh, good for you. Thank you for doing that. And his facilitator will be which one? Will it be Mary or Kyle?
I'm going to facilitate 1 and 3. Mary will facilitate 2 and 4.
Just a point of clarification, please, since I'm new on board. What exactly is the procedure? We deliver a full-fledged speech, or is it something else? I'm not too sure.
So what you will do, Robin, thank you for that question. This is a little different than giving a speech and getting feedback. What this is sort of creating and developing your speech idea. So you will have just 1 minute to give us your speech idea. Like, what does it look like? And you'll see the first 2, and that will help you get what we're doing. So they will give 1 minute of what they're trying to do. And then there will be 14 minutes following that of a facilitator helping that person do just what they had put on the table. So it's a group helping you take your idea to the next level. That's what we're trying to do.
Lovely.
Perfect. And then after that, we will take a break. And when we come back, if Lee is able to join us, he is representing our district in the International Speech Contest next Saturday. And if he is able to join us, he had a work crisis he was dealing with, he will practice that here. If he does not, we will move on to our general evaluator, who will be doing a little bit different evaluation tonight. It will be 4 parts. It will be speaker feedback from those that spoke. It'll be a round robin for Lee if he does speak. It will be guest and audience feedback on the meeting, and then general evaluation of the whole meeting. So that's what the general evaluator will do tonight. So a little bit different. You do have in the chat a link to the agenda as well, Raven, that might help when you look at that in the flow of the evening. So it's a little bit different on timing and a little bit different on format. So I'll call right now on my timer, who is Cynthia, who will have her hands full tonight. telling us how she is going to do the timing. So Cynthia, please tell us that and let our speakers know how that will work.
Okay, I'm going to do the 1 minute timing and I'm going to dispense with the green and the yellow. You'll just get a red. And you'll know that your
Minute.
brainstorming section is done. And then you'll have 14 minutes with the actual workshop portion of the meeting. And you'll get a green at 12, a yellow at 13, and a red at 14. And then for general evaluator, I will do 2 to 3 minutes for the overall meeting. Green, and that's typical. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, something weird happened in my speakers. So green at 2, yellow at 2.5, red at 3. 5 minutes, round robins again. Green at 3, yellow at 4, red at 5. And that's round robins for Lee, speaker feedback, and for guest feedback.
Perfect.
Well,
Thank
I
you.
just want to clarify. So I'm giving each speaker, all four speakers, a minute for
Yes.
their response. And
Yes.
then there's a round robin for Lee, and then guest feedback on the meeting is 5 minutes. And then my
Yeah.
GE evaluation is 3. Oh, this is exciting.
Okay, perfect. Thank you all for that. And then we'll punt if Lee is not able to join us. We'll move right into the evaluation portion. All right. So thank you very much for that, Cynthia. And then after we have our evaluation, we'll come back and I'll make a few closing. I'll hear from Cynthia on the timing. I'll do a couple of closing comments, and then we'll close out the meeting. And then for officers, we'll stay after for elections for the next Toastmaster year. So once again, welcome to all of the guests tonight. You've come on a great night because we're trying something new and it will be a lot of fun. And with that, before I move directly into my intro of our first speaker idea, do I have any questions? Because I know this is a little different format. Any questions from anyone? And you did see that the agenda is in the chat if you need to pull that up to have at your ready. All right, then we are going to move right in to our first speaker for the evening. And our first speaker tonight is Mary. And Mary's title for her idea is "You Are Not Here." As an intro to her idea, I will say first to step to the mic tonight is Mary. Mary is known among her family and friends as the last person to follow, unless you want to take multiple wrong turns. You must have been watching me today, Mary. I got so lost going to a meeting. Tonight, she will pitch her ideas for a stand-up routine involving the many ways she gets lost. Please help me welcome Mary with her idea, "You Are Not Here."
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. Okay, my first foray into the world of stand-up comedy, and I'm selecting getting lost. I think it's a universal theme. I do it frequently, and here's some examples that I have in my life. I have gotten lost on a self-guided walking tour. I once took a book author to a signing from my place of work to another building managed by my organization that typically is 10 minutes away. I was so flustered. It took me 45 minutes to get him there. I have argued with GPS that it isn't telling me how to go. I was right sometimes about GPS. It had me diverted around an airport when I knew the right way. Wow, that was a fast 1-minute pitch. You can see I get lost all kinds of ways.
Okay, I am facilitating this discussion. And what we want to do is we want to help Mary turn this into a approximately 5-minute stand-up routine or 5-minute humorous speech. So I would like to know if you have any suggestions, anything jumping to mind right now about anything Mary could do to take the skeleton that she's given us and put some flesh on, especially if it's humorous.
I would like to know if you have a childhood story of this.
I have a story from when I was taking driver's ed and my uncle refused to. My uncle, who had been through many people teaching them how to drive, said never again would he go with me because he didn't know where I was when I was driving.
Ah!
Not present. I was physically present, but I was not mentally there.
Ah,
Yeah, that to me would be a perfect way to start. You're in the car
where
with
you were,
with
even
your
though you
uncle.
were next to him.
I was next to him and he was shaking and
Ah!
white when we got back to the house.
Okay. I think that works.
All right.
Yeah, I think
I
that
have-
would be a great way to get started because it just trips off your tongue. You know it so easily, and it's funny. We all laughed. So yeah.
Um,
How would you think she could set that up so that I think she should be in the car? What do you
Well-
mean you don't know where I am? Or something like that.
well, I've been watching a lot of humorists lately, and one of the things they do is they walk up and say hello to the audience, and then they launch right in to their topic matter. And of course, what they're driving for is to get to the first punchline as fast as they can, so that people know, oh, this is not actually going to be funny. So I think you should come up with a lot of euphemisms for being directionally challenged.
Okay.
Have 3 or 4 different directionally challenged, compassly disabled.
Okay.
Looks
Have a
like
couple
Vivian
euphemisms.
has some thoughts too.
What's that?
Vivian has her hand up.
Okay, Vivian.
You might want to try this because I love doing this. I'm too lazy to write anything, so I enjoy doing improv. And you might just want to walk into the stage with a clueless face. So your face is the first message. Scratching your head, clueless, looking to the left, looking to the right, and you're holding something. We don't know what it is, and you're arguing. You're wrong. Yes, I'm right. You're wrong. Yes, I'm right. You might be AI, but you don't know what you're doing. You are again and again and again. Ah, shut up. Okay, so you can go from there. An imaginary dialogue, but worth a try.
That makes me think that maybe the driving examples would be all you need, and that would make it more focused and because you can tell that one where you got lost on a self-guided tour, but it takes a long time to tell that.
Yeah.
So you've got all these little things like Vivian said about, no, you're wrong. I'm right.
No, that's left. You told me right. Yeah. I could play on that. Left,
Do
right.
you do what I do and mistake your left for your right sometimes?
Okay, only when I'm giving directions.
Oh, jeez.
Okay. Okay, but not when you're following.
That's a
her.
great line right there.
I know.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a great line
That
to
is
throw
good.
in there. Yeah.
I can tell my left from my right unless I'm giving directions.
Kyle,
You
I'm
need another definition for GPS. Because for you, it's
Kyle.
not global positioning system.
I think Vivian's talking to you.
Vivian?
Kyle, my imaginary dialogue with Kyle is, he asks me, do you have problems with your left and right? I just look at him and proudly I say, only when I'm right. Go figure.
I like that.
It works when you have a couple of beers when you're doing this. Get a coffee mug, lie to Toastmasters, say it's coffee, but put some alcohol in it. That works.
The author you were driving, what was he an author of? I mean, a book, but book on what?
American culture, worldwide culture.
Okay, so nothing that we could spin into being directionally challenged or. Okay, okay.
No.
Well, you could swing that into directionally challenged because you're thinking you were in Australia with the author, or something
Yeah,
that way, whether
yeah.
this book is about. You could maybe do it that way.
Yeah, you could use that somehow with one of those rule of three where where you thought you were, and take it off the rails into Australia or wherever.
I've lived in my city for 40 years, and I still find new ways to get places that I have been many times. I didn't know that street connected to that one, kind of thing. Yeah. Okay.
And it really didn't.
So I'm going to share a true story with you. Maybe it relates. My sister-in-law is also directionally challenged. She used to leave the house and go to her favorite restaurant, and then she'd come back, and then she'd leave the house and go to her favorite store, and she'd come back. And these were two places she went to all the time, and they were on the same road. The restaurant and the store were on the same road, a few blocks apart, and she never realized.
That I'm so sorry to say, but actually that sounds familiar. I'm not quite that bad, but that does kind of sound familiar.
Okay.
It is totally how if I have to, yeah, totally I get it. I still can't make connections on how roads, yeah, it's embarrassing to say some of the ways I don't connect.
I'm trying to think of a game where you have to return to the start before you can go out again.
Well, Monopoly.
Yeah, you got to pass go. You got to collect your $200.
Baseball, home plate.
God.
Oh,
If Mary passes
seriously, when
it
my
10
son was,
times.
we were teaching my son to play baseball, and he got to his first at bat, and he swung, and he got on first base, and he just came back to the dugout because he thought he was done. That was it. That's all he needed to do. Okay, games. So Monopoly.
And Mary, you could take Monopoly, and instead of going back to go one time, you go 15 times.
Yeah, or I take the detour to. I mean, I think there's Monopoly things I could play off of. Yeah, because it's a different way of getting lost, like getting lost in games. What are the rules of the road, kind of thing.
Well, that reminds me so much of going down the rabbit hole on YouTube or something.
Yeah,
you get
it's
lost
true.
there.
There's
Other way to
lots of
get
ways to get lost. Yeah.
And I was lost with my daughter, and the GPS was just taking us around in circles. So I called my husband to look us up on a different tracking tool. And so he gave us directions. So my daughter and I are sitting there thinking, okay, do we believe the GPS who's with us, or do we believe my husband? We decided to believe the GPS. 4 hours later, we were at the beginning where we first started our journey. Yeah.
Mary?
Yes.
Sorry. Mary?
Yeah.
I'm holding a newspaper here from halfway around the world, and it has your name. It says Mary Johnson hit a home run. So seriously, hit a home run. Almost. What? She hits the ball and runs. And she makes it through the 4 bases. fourth base, third base, second base, fourth base.
That's
So
good.
that was that really good way of, you're telling the story and then turning it around, or the unexpected.
Yeah.
So, yeah, nice job, Vivian.
So I
Let's talk about delivery for a second, because right now you've got more material than you can probably deliver in 5 minutes. You're going to need to rework it and structure it. Well, let's talk about delivery. So one of the things that I would encourage you to think about doing, especially right from the start, if you're going to start out with the childhood, the driving instruction, your uncle driving instruction, you need to role play your uncle. And you need to really exaggerate his nervousness. The clinging to the door. I know this because my mother did it when I was driving, clinging to the door.
yanking the steering wheel.
My mother slamming her foot on a non-existent brake in the passenger side while I'm driving.
Robin, I was wondering if you have, see, now you've got a different cultural perspective, so I wondered if you have any suggestions, or how this works for you.
Yeah, you brought up an interesting point about a cultural perspective because I'm the other corner of the globe. But for now, honestly, I'm just observing so that I know what I'll do when I come on board on number 3.
Okay.
Yeah, silence is gospel. For now, at least.
Another driving aspect of it that I could, oh, sorry, we were on delivery.
Yep.
I could get lost on the stage.
I was thinking that too. Walking up to the mic with your back to the audience.
Right. Like if I don't know what kind of stage they are, but a lot of times if you come out, I'm like, you want me to go which first, which that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually delivered a speech that way. Like, walked the long way around.
Did
Okay.
you?
I mean deliberately, because it was.
Oh, deliberately. Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, deliberately. Like, oh,
And
there
when
you
you-
are. Finally turn to the audience and say, oh, there you are. I've been looking all over for you. Kind of moment.
And when you're driving and you could either discover it, or your passenger could discover that once you turn onto the freeway, everyone else is going the wrong way. And, play that in there as well.
Ooh.
That happened to me and my grandfather.
And that's that classic. How do they know which way we're going?
Yes. That was so
For
much
me.
fun.
Well, and of course, there's the old one-liner.
Yeah.
It's a one-way road. I'm only going one way.
Yes.
Mary, one other idea for delivery would be giving a series of very short one-liners that all address being lost, and then turning it into a story with a conclusion instead of starting with a story. It's just a flip-flop of what you've done. A lot of humorists do that. They give fast one-liners that are funny, all related to the topic, and then they do the story. Or you start with a story and end with that, tying it all together. It's just another way I've seen it done.
That's kind of Kyle's moment, like where he started off saying, get to the punchline quickly, do a lot of things first, and then build a story. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I am so appreciative. I'm full. Thank you. I'm full of ideas. And when I have a date in mind, you all have to be there with a couple of drinks before the show starts so that you're ready to laugh.
Oh, I thought we were going to do this all together. No.
But we could. I don't know where we're going to do it.
Well, at the end of this meeting, we're going to talk about our June meeting, and our June meeting is a chance for people to practice what they write, if they choose.
Okay.
So, Mary, are you done?
I think I'm done. I'm filled.
Okay. I return.
I'll get lost if I have any more
Oh, can I say one more thing?
Sure.
Well, this is in general for everybody that we are so used to sitting and looking at the camera or standing and looking at the camera. We stand in one spot. Humorists don't do that. They wander all over the stage doing whatever they do, or they, uh, talk to different parts of the audience, or they pick somebody out, or, they don't just stay in one place. So I think we need to remember that.
Well, and I think taking these ideas that we get here and then thinking, okay, this is my theme, and then listening to several humorists and see how are they doing it, and how could I then take my idea and incorporate maybe into how they deliver it, or whatever that might help as well. Yeah. All right, let's move on to our second speaker. Our second speaker tonight is ME. And her idea for a comedy routine or speech came to her while she was asleep. She realized that most of her life she had thought of snoring as a primary male trait. That got turned on its head with no warning when her daughter shook her, saying, "Mama, wake up, you're snoring." Certainly, there must be humor in this somewhere. Here's Emmy with her thoughts about snoring, to sleep, or perhaps chance to snore. Emmy.
Well, this is actually a very true story. And all of the things that I tried to do to stop snoring because I was so embarrassed that I snored. I couldn't go with my sisters on our trips because they didn't want to sleep in the same room that I did because it was so loud. So I tried all these devices and things to help me stop snoring. One of them was a blow up wedge because when you sleep at an angle you're not supposed to snore as much. So I ordered a blow up. There could be some blow up joke there too, the blow up doll, but I ordered a blow up wedge, and the very first night that I go to use it, it had a little pump, and so I push the pump and it goes screech. Every time that I pump it, it goes screech, 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 screech. And I was so worried about whether it was worse to keep people awake screeching at them or snoring in the middle of the night. So anyway, so that's one of the stories. I have other stories too, but yeah. So yeah.
Okay, so that gave us a little bit to work with here. And I have a couple of ideas. I'll just kick this off with thinking about your opening intro was you always thought of snoring as a male trait. So there's just a whole bunch of ways you could go with the what other male traits have you picked up?
Oh no. I was thinking of starting with the well, women, we don't sweat, we glow.
Exactly. The
Yes.
difference. It's the difference.
Those things that we do.
Yes, yes, yes.
And of course I don't snore. I breathe heavily.
You don't snore, you nocturnally vocalize.
You snuffle. Yeah. So
I like that.
other ideas. Let's give Emmy some ideas similar to what you did with me. It's a pretty open slate. What would you start with? Yeah.
I did a talk on this. I don't know if Emmy heard it. I did it at Squim, and I called it War Against the Snore. And I talked about all the little anti-snoring devices I have tried, and I brought them all. The thing on the nose, the thing in the nose, the thing that goes in your mouth, and I started out with a tender story about waking up and my wife is gone because she went into the other room because she couldn't sleep. And I'm not going to repeat my speech, but the point is, I deliberately designed it to make me look foolish as I put all this stuff on, all piled on top of each other in the meeting. And then
Well-
and then of course I bought the electronic device, which was supposed to stop the snoring and
So I had some kind of idea about because why the wedge didn't work. Well, for one thing, it was uncomfortable, and for another, it made me sweat because it was rubber. And then, of course, gravity. You're at an angle. I wake up in the middle of the night. I'm not on the wedge. And my feet are hanging off the end of the bed. Something like that.
Yep.
Which you can kind of demonstrate.
they need to make a wedge with a sandpaper back, a sandpaper front.
Ooh.
Ouch.
I have the wedge. I could pump it up.
You could bring props. You could bring props. Some people may not have ever seen a props before. Quickly work through them.
So
What other concepts come to mind? Any Cynthia, Karen, Vivian, Cheryl?
I just want to say that I really like your idea, Emmy, of doing well, because I'm a woman, this, and because I'm a man, this, because I think that that's really powerful when it comes to snoring, because you had this sudden, I think that should stay in for sure. I like that juxtaposing of the male and the female, and you could play that in a couple of ways and come back to the snoring, and a man might wear it this way, well, I wear it this way, or you could play on that too.
There's unexpected, if you went to the unexpected route, what other unexpected things happen? Falling out of bed or sleepwalking or there's lots of Vivian, I see, has her hand raised.
All right. One of the things I really like doing is to start crazy. Emmy, can you give me a 2-second demo of the sound of a loud snore?
Oh.
Can you do it?
Take my glasses off. Who knew I had to take my glasses off to snore? So that would be like a.
Okay. So what you'd want to do to start is to do 2 of those, like snore, snore, and you say, Emmy, stop it. We're trying to sleep here. And so you look at the audience and say, so I solved that. They stopped complaining. Except what they heard instead was squeak, 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 the gadget.
Would it be appropriate at some point? Thank you, Vivian. I love that you play it out. Would it be appropriate at some point to play off the audience's any fear that of the audience falling asleep during your routine?
You could actually do that. But see, I really started doing this to keep people awake while I was talking, So the object of snoring is keeping people awake.
Yeah.
you could probably do 5 minutes on just snoring and trying to solve it with the wedge. There's the buying the wedge. There's the inflating the wedge the first time. The speak, sitting in the room with your sisters. Speak. There's you're traveling with a wedge and your luggage gets searched and somebody's looking at this unidentifiable plastic thing with a pump.
And then what you ended up doing with the wedge in the end, if it was useless, maybe there were other creative.
Yeah.
Oh, creative uses of the wedge.
Creative uses of the wedge.
Yeah.
I can see this is like a story bubble where you kind of go off in different directions. What is it called, Kyle? What do we call that? Mind map.
Yeah.
I call it a story bubble, but it's a mind map.
Mind map.
Well, and you could circle around at the very end and say, but just kidding. None of this was about me because I'm a woman and I don't snore.
Snore.
Vivian.
Actually, I have another solution for you, which is
Okay.
if it's all about wanting to travel with your sisters and all the things you're doing to travel with your sisters and they're upset with snoring, the final solution is I gave them earplugs.
Well, my daughter came to stay with me after Dwight died, and she wore earplugs so she could sleep with me.
True. Earplugs for them, not you. Vivian.
I heard you talk about travel, and this can be so true. Try going to a country where they don't speak English. Try France. And try explaining what those gadgets are to a customs officer who does not speak English. Go figure. Because that's so true. It can happen.
And there you are, miming it out.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. You want me to demonstrate what I use it for in the airport?
We went to Russia. This was not long after they opened up, after the Soviets fell, you know. And Dwight, we had to go through customs, and somebody stole his money clip. He had to take the money out of it, but he had to put the clip through because it was metal. Well, somebody stole that. So I could do something where, you know, you put it through the machine. Somebody took the pump. What am I going to do with the pump? What am I going to do without it?
Emmy?
Well,
Yes.
Yes.
Vivian, do you have, oh, go ahead.
So I get crazier and crazier, so please forgive me and tell me to shut up if you're tired of me. Talking about travel, you can tell people, I'm worldwide famous. I was in CNN, I was in BBC, I was all over online, and you know, YouTube's forever. There I was. Everybody was watching. What is this woman doing? She was trying to speak French while demonstrating the gadget. So you went viral, Emmy. Imagine what that was like.
oh, viral. My pump. Huh?
I heard a session of I can't think what it's called now, the game, but it's a game show where you have men and women, the husband and wife against each other. And they
Newlywed.
match their newlywed game, and they had people at different ages, how long they'd been married when they did it. Anyway, they were talking about pet peeves, and the one person, they all started talking about the same thing in their pet peeves. And the first one was they pretend they hate it when their husband or their spouse pretends not to hear them. That's their pet peeve. Then the next person said, well, the next one said, well, I hate it when they forget to put their hearing aids in. And then the third person said, I hate it when they turn their hearing aids off. So it was the same idea. So you could potentially do that with snoring, you know, taking the snoring to the different level. You know, it could be, you could play with that.
Well, that could be one reason why I didn't know I snored, is because my husband took his hearing aids out at night. He couldn't hear me snore.
I had a nephew who, when he was about 4, was visiting us, and he came down the hall to his mom from end of the hall into our family room, saying, "There's a monster in my house." And we're like, "What?" Like, they have good imaginations at that age, but he was really scared. So he took us to the source of the monster, and it was my husband snoring. He was so certain that
Oh, I like that monster in the house.
monster in the house. That was me. Yeah. What else can we tell? Emmy probably has a ton of ideas that she could do with this. What could we think about to help her have that stage presence? Like, should she come out wearing pajamas? or, you know, how could she make her presence funny? No way. Okay. Sorry, you're not gonna be funny. You're not gonna be funny coming out.
I do think wearing some gear that makes them wonder right up front, like what's she up to? Is she going to sleep? Is she, you know, pajamas or something, or just having a big thing on her face? You know, you could have your hearing thing start with your nose gadget and your other things when you walk out. And then, you know, they can't even understand you. And then you finally take it off and then you start your I never snore, you know, whatever. Yeah.
Pajamas sounds like a good idea, but what about your blankie? Your little blankie you go to bed with at night, or your, you know,
That's a little pillow.
yeah, whatever. And, you know, something like, you know, the kids have like a little teddy bear, a little stuffed animal they go to bed with, or your blankie that's all satin over around the edge and it's nice and soft, and something, you know, something like that, maybe.
I was thinking the same thing, a pair of feety pajamas and a stuffed bear.
And your nose thing. I think have that on too to start when you come out. And it would be funny. The other thing you could play off would be your husband next to you. And what's your husband doing? Is he putting a pillow between you so that he can't, you know, or is he covering your head, or is that blanket no longer yours? Now it's over him because he's, you know, you could play it that way too. You know.
And if you did do something with lots of the different devices, depending on how the audience was, you could throw out to the audience at the end earplugs if this is a problem with other people in their family or something like that. You know, where you want some audience engagement. It
Actually,
looks like
I love that idea. If you have you talk to, hey, anybody here have a spouse that tells them they snore? And some woman's going to go, yeah, my husband snores. And you're like, here, these are for you. You know, toss us some earplugs.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're really cheap. You could hand out 3 or 4 of them as good audience interaction.
We are at red. I saw Vivian. You could quickly explain, share your last,
Yes.
the last idea.
Emmy, how many seconds does it take to put on a gadget? One of the gadgets on your face.
Oh, couple seconds. Doesn't take long.
Okay, then you can start with saying, I am so secure. I know my husband really loves me. You put it on and then talk right through it. And you say, if it were I looked like on my honeymoon night. What?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. We're ending on a high note. I love it, love it, love it, love it. Thank you for playing along. And Emmy, you've got a good start, I think. So I will turn it back to our Toastmaster Karen.
Thank you, Mary, and thank you, Emmy, and thank you for all of the group giving feedback. I think we're getting some great ideas for enhancing humor in our speeches. Well, now we are going to move on to our guest, Raven, who is volunteering to step up to the plate and give us his idea of a speech. Now, Raven is from Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. He's a member of 2 districts, 51 and 87, soon to be joining 101. And he joined Toastmasters in February of 88. But only since the pandemic in 2020 has he begun looking at contests. He's presently working on a second DTM and using Pathways at this time. So help me welcome Raven as he tells us what his idea is for humor in a speech.
Thank you. Thank you for this privilege to present my case before all of you. I like to curate a contest-winning speech entitled Big or Small. And I leave it there dangling that way. And I like to end up with the conclusion, big or small, respect them all. I've delivered this at 2 stages, one at a district level evaluation contest with a different content, a different story. Then just last Sunday, I delivered the same subject matter, though with a different storyline, a different content, at the division level evaluation contest. I like to see and explore how I can take it up further, perhaps to an international stage, an international platform, because the story is too localized. Thank you.
You're
Today?
So I'm going to be facilitating. Sorry, I forgot for a second. I was about to jump in and start adding content. Does anybody have any comments or questions for Robin?
Well, I have a question.
Sure.
Robin, the story that you've been telling with that, is that about a difference in personal size or, you know, what have you been relating that to?
All right, thank you, Bartolomeo. My thesis is, through the evolutionary process, we all have been focusing only on big things as safety issues. We tend to neglect the smaller matters. Like, for example, the pandemic was not caused by a giant anaconda. Small virus, until now, they still have not found out, though they claim it's in Wuhan. My thesis was, as a private pilot, me and someone else who was flying with, we crashed our aircraft because of some small little thing that we overlooked. All the while we're looking at the big picture. We're focusing on the big picture. That's what we are taught. Yeah? Don't sweat the small stuff. We are taught that. But I want to correct that perception. It doesn't work that way. Then the other story which I delivered at the division level contest is my pet dog, my Dalmatian, which I had for 8 years. He developed a small spore, but we neglected until it spread uncontrollably, and the vet had no choice but to tell me to put it to sleep. I lost a beautiful dog, an exuberant, lively animal. Both these stories sank well with the audience, but I need to go further. Thank you.
I want to jump in with my thoughts, but I'm going to resist, and I'm going to ask you guys, what do you think? Do you need to know more in order to give a suggestion, or do you have any suggestions?
Robin, you strike me as a large person. I can't tell from here, but are you a big guy or are you small?
Point. I'm a medium-sized guy, neither big nor small.
So have there been times when you've been ignored in favor of a big guy or nothing like that? Oh, darn.
It happens all the time, especially when they look for leaders. The big guys get selected first, even though you're the brainy one.
Yeah. Oh, well, you know, there's the games when you're a kid, you know, we used to play Red Rover, send Robin right over because he's big. But so that's a more obvious big and little, but I don't know how you would use it though.
It sounds to me like your premise is that God is in the details. Have you heard that quote?
Yes.
It sounds to me like your premise is God is in the details. God is in the small. And of the 2 stories you described, I'll tell you, my contestant brain says, go with the airplane, not the dog. One, some people don't get emotional about their animals. Some people get too emotional about their animals. And and you want to avoid a situation where somebody might, where the audience might be judging you because you didn't react the way they think you should have. If you're a pilot and you're talking about a plane, you get to tell that story about being up in the air, flying. It's great. It's joyous. I'm in the clouds. Oh no, something's wrong. And the crash, and the two of you relating with your friend while you're plummeting. All of that's a chance to act out and do dialogue and present it. And then, of course, what was the cause? What caused the crash? What almost caused you, the two of you, to die?
All right. What happened? Yeah, that point, Kyle, if I can address. We were forced to make a forced landing because darkness came in and our aircraft was only certified for daylight flying. We could not continue. So we were forced to make what we call a forced landing in an open area, a construction site. We came in, it appeared to be a good spot for landing. But then we ran into some power cables that ran right across our landing approach path. We could see small things, but brought us down because we are looking at the big picture all the while.
Okay. Okay.
So it wasn't actual small part of the plane that failed. It was in the landing.
Yes, in the landing phase, we crashed and just dropped like a ton of bricks.
Okay. Okay.
I like that you have a universal theme of pay attention. The small things do matter. Like we all like to think of ourselves as, big picture, big idea people, not getting so mired in the minor details that we lose our life over minuteness when, we want to enjoy the wholeness of our life. There's something there, I think, that's really compelling for us. But if we don't pay enough attention to the small steps that get us there, we can lose it all. And so, playing on that, being really clear about what your, like that's your key message. And so the plane is a very compelling story. I agree with Kyle. If you're going to do one about animals, it's like I've seen a lot of international speeches where people talk about someone who's died and they end up on a high note. The danger is if the other competitor's there, any more than one of you talks about death, it brings the audience down. So, it's great if you're number one, but if you're number three person in line and you've now talked about the near-death experience or the death of the child or the parent and how it impacted you, because I've been at a contest when that happened, it's not good. So a plane is a very unique experience that you could bring, but it's the lesson you learned from that I think is really, that you want to share with others, because I'm not going to fly a plane. And I don't like details. But if I don't take one step, yeah.
I would add to that. I think, there's been so much in the press of late about planes, plane crashes, casualties, missing things, that there is a lot of fear of flying right now. And there's a lot of people that have, don't want, it brings back, it's still fresh. It brings back memories of things that are happening now. So if you take a story like that, because it can be very, very powerful, I would work humor in it, because what it does then is it brings people up and down, because so much of the world today is heavy. If we can add in some laughter in the middle of it, laughing at ourselves and how we reacted to it, laughing at something, then it lightens us up. And then we're like, okay, now I can continue on this trip. Otherwise, people get so anxious that they're like, I don't want to even hear anymore, and you don't want that. So I think the power of the message, I would just find little ways to make it funny. And if you laugh at yourself, that everybody, it lightens everything. So I would just add that comment.
I was also, you said that you weren't certified to fly at night. Well, what went into the decision to be out there so that you were having to land someplace you wouldn't normally land? Because I mean, there's a previous little thing that got ignored or got, yeah. So you might have a series of little things that are in this, and so my ex-husband was a pilot. And so I'm familiar with the checklists and all this stuff that you have to go through. So maybe there was something a little prior to that you missed. And then there's something else, getting out of bed in the morning. Maybe that was the thing that you shouldn't have done. Uh, um, so maybe you can find something humorous in that portion of it, because there's not a lot of humor in actually crash landing, but yeah, you might be able to find something there.
I have a suggestion for something that might be humorous, and might also build some tension. You said you're coming down into a rough field and there were power line. I assume there was a power tower, a metal tower.
We could see.
What's that?
We can see because it's dark.
Okay. Okay, because what I was thinking is you could spend all your time worrying about don't hit the tower, don't hit the tower.
Okay.
And you don't even think about, wait a minute,
Okay.
tower's there. Why is the tower there? Crud, there's power lines. And
I like it.
you could build up some tension there while you're trying to avoid the tower and not even thinking about why is it there?
As another aspect that you could take of this, it just occurred to me, sometimes I talk about the time to do something is before you need it. So it's like it's not, because I kind of agree with Karen. You don't want to go into a potential plane disaster and leave the audience worried about whether their pilot is as thoughtful as you are. I mean, I always assume a pilots also want to get home. They're not going to take me on an unsafe journey because none of it, But I wonder if if there are other stories that you could bring about that would have more of the it's the ounce of prevention, pound of cure kind of, just taking those, building the relationships that you need in advance, save you. So it's just that whole concept of the small steps can let you lead to the future you envision. But it's thinking small leads to a big future kind of thing.
The thing I want to point out, because we're almost out of time here, the thing I want to point out is we've had you had a message of big and small, consider them all or respect them all. I put out God's little detail. Mary's is the biggest created from small. There's a lot of different ways you could take this and deliver a message. You need to make sure that however you tell it, the message is crystal clear. You say it multiple times. Hit the audience on the head with the message so that there's no confusion. Because the single biggest piece of advice I give to competitors is you're blurring your message. You need to make it laser focused. Vivian, you had a comment?
Yes, a closing line could be small details can make a big difference.
No. Any other comments or suggestions for Raven?
I mean, you could open with a question to the audience. Do you prefer small or do you prefer big? Do you want a little bit or do you want a lot? And then you can go into your story and show that it's not always the big things that you want. It's the small things that save lives. It's the small things that do this. It's the small thing, so you could tell your story that way. Give the choice where they're going to most likely pick big to start. And then you explain why the small is more important.
Yeah, I don't know about Kuala Lumpur, but in USA culture, marketers tend to market the big. Oh, you got a car, you want a Land Cruiser, you want an SUV. You got an SUV, you need a, big Ford truck. You got a truck,
Hummer.
you need a land
You need a
yacht.
Hummer.
Yeah, you need a Hummer, and then the land yacht. Bigger, bigger, bigger. Okay, we're out of time. Robin, I hope we were helpful and useful to you. You'll get a
Indeed.
chance to, during Emmy's evaluation section, to give us some feedback. And I'm going to give control back to Karen.
Thank you, Kyle, and thank you, Raven, for stepping up to the plate and working on your speech live. That's great. So are we doing okay? Everybody okay without a stretch? Can we go do one more and then take our break? Everybody good with doing Kyle's speech, or do we need to take a break first?
I need a glass of water. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Meanwhile, I put a PDF in the chat. I want to download. Open it up.
Okay, called anger management. All right.
Hey, let's take the 5-minute break now because I need to get a glass of water and Lee's not here. So let's balance out the meeting and take our 5-minute break right now.
Okay. So I have 7:32. So 7:37, we come back. So we're going to take our 5 minutes now.
Oh, we are. Okay.
Yeah, just and start back what they needed to do during the break. And we are now going to move on to our fourth speaker tonight, who is Kyle, and Mary will be the facilitator. And Kyle's intro is that our club members have been challenged to come up with a 5-minute comedic routine for an open mic night at a comedy club. Kyle wants our help tonight in crafting that routine. He has chosen for his topic a subject that is both low-hanging fruit, something that a lot of people have joked about, and yet subtle and difficult. Please help me in assisting Kyle as we help him build a humorous talk that he is calling anger management. Kyle. And he has a handout in the chat.
Yes,
And?
I sent you a PDF in the chat. Hopefully you've downloaded it and opened it. And this is the little outline I have here. Title, goal, my one point is the way I write most of my speeches. The points underneath that are probably the thing you need to be most aware of. My wife has anger issues. I describe her as a balloon, always ready to pop. All you need is the right, pin. And some of the pins are relations, her aunts, her sisters, my driving, especially if she's tired. And a while ago, I was really annoying her with, I had started using the phrase, if you say so. Not sure I can tell that in a short, succinct way. We'll see. I have my own anger issues. Unlike my wife, I'm not ready to burst out. I tend to hide my anger. I tend to stuff it. I tend to hide it and stuff it and try to store it until it starts leaking out in unexpected ways. For a while, I thought I was the angerless man until I stubbed my toe. I have what I think is a funny story about pounding a pillow to release anger. Then I, of course, discovered I have a sugar allergy, which means food I eat makes me angry. And my wife's communication issues, and the one she likes to end sentences with, I'm just saying. And what does that mean? And I think that's my minute.
It is your minute, Kyle. Thank you. I love both of your communications, which I look at them now and think, oh, a little passive aggressive on each of your parts. You're just saying, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So lovely setup. I like it. You've given us some already good things to start. So let's begin. Some thoughts about Kyle and his potential stand-up routine about anger management. Lots been written about it. Touchy enough subject, a good subject to have in general, appealing to you, something that's universal. Has to be careful about it. What's happening with you all?
Well,
Silence is what's happening.
I'm curious about it leaking out the seams. That's a very good image for the anger. Do you know the cartoons with the steam coming out of the head or the ears? So I'm curious what it looks like when it starts to leak out of the seams. You said you start doing pounding the pillow, and that's one thing, but
Well,
what brings you to the realization, oh, I'm
pounding the
starting.
pillows is a way to deal with anger once you know you have it.
That's
But my
right.
problem is I stuff my anger and I don't realize I'm angry until it starts leaking out and I start getting short-tempered. I start snapping. I start, somebody asks me a yes or no question and I say no, but I don't use that tone of voice.
You think you're hiding it, but you're
Yeah, I
not.
think I'm hiding it.
You
I
think,
may not even be conscious of it, but it's like, hey, do you want to go? No.
right? Vivian.
Yes, you can try starting with the classic. I am not angry. Secondly, I never get angry. And third thing is, don't you dare accuse me of being angry. There you go.
Yep. Yeah. My wife has 27 different ways of saying she's of describing an emotion that is obviously anger that she I'm not angry, I'm just peeved. Mildly annoyed.
Anger is a
Kyle,
pretty big issue. You could break it down. You could start with some smaller and build up to something.
Yep.
Who doesn't get, and the other thing, I think you could do a play on, describe some quick situations. Who wouldn't get angry when blah, blah, blah happens, right? This happened. That's a reasonable response, anger, right? So you could play off some of I'm not angry, I'm reasonable.
I'm not angry. I'm furious.
Right. Yeah. You could do the whole I'm not angry, and then that could be one direction you could take.
Oh. There's that mask. I can't remember, like one side of the mask is a woman, the other side is a man, and you put it on and you're the man, and then you turn around and you're the woman. Well, maybe one's anger and one's
One's denial.
denial. Yeah.
And I would try to have the humor related to the anger management turn on yourself and not on your wife.
Yeah.
So when you have it always come back to you, where she's teaching you a lesson that you didn't know. So that it's, she talks about this so that you aren't poking fun at her, because someone will take that personally.
Yeah.
But you can always poke fun at yourself. So
Yeah.
you can relate it that way. You can use your wife in the scenario, but have her be the one that makes you realize that you were the one doing the anger.
I know, as much as we would love to talk about if you say so, Perhaps that wouldn't be a good idea.
I'm taking notes.
You know, Kyle, another way you could go with this, which would be a whole different, is treat the audience as though they're your therapist.
Ooh.
Like, what would you say? Like you come out and and you're like, this is you. I admit it. My moment on stage is a therapy session with a bunch of strangers kind of moment. You know, how could you play on that? And because it's going to be brief, you're not going to get into great depth. But why can't I say I'm angry? You know, if it was you, and then you give a bunch of scenarios. If it was you saying this to me, if you say so, kind of moment, or you know, you criticizing my driving. You know, it's really reasonable to be angry at. You know, I don't know, play on how reasonable it is. There's nothing wrong with a healthy anger at the right stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You're also a large guy, and there you could play, I'm not sure how, but there could be a way for you to play off your physical presence.
Well, if I actually tell the pillow pounding story, I was challenged by somebody who I was talking to, a therapist, to pound a pillow when I was angry. And I wouldn't do it. I was scared of it. I was terrified of it because I thought if I let my anger out, I would just destroy the house. I'd rip the walls down. I'd pull the house apart.
Yeah.
And my wife finally made me sit down in front of this pillow and just pound on it and scream at it until I couldn't. And I lasted like 25 seconds, and I'm like,
And you finally realize you really don't have it in you to tear the house down.
yeah, this incredible Hulk anger I thought I had. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little
I'm
more.
surprised. I thought you were going to say that you tore the pillow apart.
No,
And
no, I couldn't have even done that. I mean, it was, you know, it was a real lesson into the power of fear. The fear was way worse than the anger.
well, there's a
Vivian has her hand raised. Yes.
Yes. I read minds, and so I just read Kyle's mind, and this is his you know me by now, Kyle. This is his closing line. Upon ending my meditation sessions, all 12 sessions, I realized my wife and I never argue. We just have opposite perspectives and opinions on everything. We never.
Yes. And you know, to play off that concept of, it's like anger, if you're talking about anger management, you could go down the path of the things that trigger you, or the pins that pop your balloon kind of moment, or you could go about all of the different ways that you manage your anger, and then just do little plays on that, because it's not going to take very long. Like, I meditate, and at the end I pound a pillow. I take long walks. Sometimes it's taken me 3 days to get home, kind of thing. You know, where you really exaggerate. You know, all the things that you've heard are really good for managing anger. And, you know, so you could, you know, each one of those you could play off of a little bit. You know,
something like you were pounding the pillow. You know, you pounded the pillow and broke your little finger or something. You know, it wasn't soft. You know,
it's kind of funny anyway that you pounded the pillow. You know, some people told you that, so you did, because you were so worried about breaking the house apart. And 20 seconds later, you realized you didn't have the stamina. You couldn't, like, right? I mean, that's kind of funny.
You could also play off of pet peeves. Yeah, because pet peeves can get you really angry.
Yeah.
And that's a way of, you know, taking a couple of pet peeves, because everybody's got a pet peeve. If you start talking, they're going to think of a pet peeve. And it's going to bring them right there with you. Now you run the risk of them going in their own mind off on their own pet peeve and not listening to you because they can get so angry, but you could use it as a way into your discussion around anger.
Meditating during a road rage moment. Thank God for self-driving cars. Oh.
That's great. I love it. See, you thought you weren't funny, Mary.
No, I don't know. Here's the deal. I don't know if I want to work so hard enough to be funny deliberately. Oh my God, this is a lot of work, you all.
Yeah.
Yeah, but on the other hand, if you get to stand up there and actually make a large group of people laugh, there's nothing quite like it.
Really? I don't know if that's one of my goals in life, but I'm giving it a try this year. I've committed to a lot of people by now.
I delivered my secret decoder ring to a district level contest, and
Yeah,
it's quite a thrill to get 200 people laughing.
yeah.
Vivian.
Vivian.
Yeah. I think meditation gurus should give specific instructions. So back to Kyle, because I love him so much. He has a very unique instructor. Kind of vague, just one phrase, not even one sentence. 2 words. He just told Kyle, say Om. Say Om, Om. But he didn't talk about voice tone. He didn't talk about vocal variety. So now, when Kyle doesn't agree with his wife, this is what he does. Om, Om, Om.
It hasn't been as effective as that guy promised. He wants his money back.
He said, sorry, Kyle, I love you.
Using Om aggressively.
Right, right. That would be something, Kyle, actually, that would play really well for you in one sense, like taking that, how to be really calm because of your physicalness, like that you are a very peaceful, gentle person. You're like the gentle giant on stage where, like, yeah, I'm going to take these peaceful things and then realize the absurdity of some of it. Some of the ways that you've tried to make it playing for the absurd, I think, work well with you in anger management. Because some of the solutions kind of are ridiculous.
I do like the Om thing though.
Yeah.
That is funny.
Vivian, that is really good. Om! Om!
Don't get
I'm
me
gonna
started
use
here.
that.
Remember, everybody, I'm still shy because this is our first time together. Maybe you won't want me here next time.
Right. I think we've seen you before, dear. Or I have.
It can get kind of dangerous. You have to stop me.
So you guys have given me a lot to think about and a lot to work with.
All right. Well, we're at the green, and I think we can move on then if you've got what you think you needed to work with. So
Yeah.
Excellent. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for playing and giving us food for thought, food for funny, food for fun. It's all good. Thank you, each one of you. So now what we're going to do is move into our evaluation portion of the meeting. And to lead us in that will be Emmy.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. So we're going to start with our speakers and give them each a minute to tell us how they felt about what was given to them and how they think they can work with it, or whatever their feelings are about having done this. So our first speaker was Mary. Mary, tell us what you experienced.
Well, I'm going to take a lesson from Robin's playbook and start small. I think I was thinking there are so many ways I could go with being lost, but if I just begin with a single aspect of it, there's lots of different ways. 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes will go very, very quickly because I have like 2 pages of notes. So I think that was very, very helpful for me to realize I don't need 5 different stories or 10 different stories or 10 different aspects of getting lost. That unless, of course, some of them or just go flat and I'm getting no laughs, and then I'm going to call all my friends on stage to just do something. But come get
Oh, am I
with
going
me.
with you?
But I do think you all gave me some really good ideas that I had never considered. It was like brainstorming on steroids. So from walking in, kind of being clueless, my physical presence, how I am physically on stage, to the kinds of stories and the personas I create, the characters I create. So thank you all for that. Excellent.
Thank you, Mary. And now we'll hear from our speaker, moi. Okay, I am very much a physical person on stage. I like to act things out. I get a lot of gestures in, a lot of vocal variety. So I want to take all of these wonderful points that people told me of ways that I might make this happen and just play around with them physically and see where I think, what works for me, because we all ultimately have to figure out what works best for us. So I really appreciate all of the points that I got from everyone. I got a lot of notes and I'm excited to try this. So thank you very much. And our third speaker, Robin.
Yes, thank you very much. It has indeed been very fruitful for me. First time I'm floating this idea of mine on an international platform, and I've got exactly what I wanted, because between the two stories, what you're telling me is more palatable. The story of the air crash. My only reservation, my only limitation is because I use local geography. For example, when I explained in the District 51's evaluation contest as a test speaker and division level, of course, division level was different thing. I talked about, I took off from Malacca International Airport. I landed at Taiping Airfield. And then I was supposed to go to Alusta Airport, final destination being the holiday resort of Langkawi Island. An international audience will not be able to relate to this geography for sure. Yeah, they won't understand what I'm talking about. So I have to work around that. I have to think about, crack my head how I can work around that to make sure that the people can visualize where we are heading, because that visualization process is part of the whole storytelling. So all in all, thank you at least for letting me know which among the two is more scalable. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robin. All right, and our final speaker. I was going to put something cute in there, but the word wouldn't come. So Kyle, it's you. You're muted.
I came here with a rough concept of a plan of what I thought the speech might be like. And you guys have given me at least 3 other ways I could take this. And I know I need to be self-deprecating, and if I want to include humor about my wife, I have to be careful how I do that. I've walked that line before. But you guys gave me a lot of different ideas of different ways I could take this, and I'm going to have to think about it. It could even end up being a couple of different speeches.
Thank you, Kyle. All right, well, my next part of the evaluation was supposed to be evaluating Lee's speech, but he didn't make it.
Emmy, are you going to give your own did you give us feedback?
Me?
Yeah.
All right. I thought I did.
You did.
Oh, no, that was supposed to be next. Yes, I'm going to give my evaluation at the meeting. Is that what you're talking about? Okay. Well, congratulations, everyone. This meeting turned out to be beautiful, even though there's only 8 of us here. I was worried when we started that we would have a hard time with this, and in fact, I think it may have worked better with fewer people because we could all chime in without talking over the top of each other, without worrying about whether it's our turn or not, without having someone have to watch for hands go up and that kind of thing. So I think it worked beautifully, and I was very pleased to have so many people just chime right in and be willing to give their thoughts and their feelings about what might work versus what might not work, or just ideas. And that's really what this is all about. Brainstorming is all about ideas. And so I think that our speakers got value, which is the most important part of this. And I'm kind of sad that Lee didn't show up, and I understand that wasn't his fault. So I would have liked to have heard how he has massaged his speech. He is such a good speaker, so I'm ready to hear him a week from Saturday. So that'll be great fun. All right, now I would like to take a little bit of time and get some feedback from our guests. So we have two guests. Robin, why don't you pipe in and tell us what your thoughts about the meeting are?
Sorry, come again, please. My thoughts of?
About the meeting.
Oh, all right. Okay. I type in the chat or I share verbally.
Just share.
Oh, all right, of course. Before I came in, honestly, I was skeptical. I had trepidations. I was not sure what I'm getting into because the title said Laughter Lab. And I'm the last person for laughter, though I know what's a good joke. But then the joke is on me now. I come here, I find myself totally immersed, and I really valued the session. This has been a great learning session for me. I look forward to coming back again. Thank you.
Thank you. And we certainly would welcome you as a new member if you so choose. All right, Vivian, tell us what your experience was.
I actually feel I finally found some long lost brothers and sisters halfway around the world. And yet, etiquette training tells me that I must apologize for being so shy, so reserved, and so self conscious. Yes, Mary, I'm the biggest liar in Asia. So, thank you for the warm welcome and group hug to all of you. And I can't resist but tell Kyle that I have finally discovered that you and your wife, she called me, she knows my number. She called me just now on WhatsApp and she told me, Kyle's lying. We have a code, a one-word code that we can use internationally whenever we want to fight or be angry or argue. I said, really? What's that one word? And my eardrum just cracked open when she screamed and said, "Oh, there you go." Thank you. Love you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Oh, gosh. All right. So can we get a timer's report for our lovely little gathering here?
Yes, I'd love to give a timer's report. This has been keeping me very busy. I don't think I've timed this diligently in any Toastmasters meeting before. Mary, your speech, your workshop was 13 minutes and 59 seconds. ME 1454, Raven 1436, and Kyle 1306. The general evaluation was 1 minute and 38 seconds. And I gave everybody a minute time on what the speakers thought and what the guests thought and didn't write those down.
Fantastic. I'd say we fit into our agenda very well. We followed it all pretty darn closely. So except for, of course, having a speech to evaluate. But thank you all for being here. This has been so wonderful, and I thought it was just fantastic myself. And I'm now going to turn this back over to our Toastmaster. Karen.
Thank you, Emmy, and thank you for that overview and the very specific evaluations. I appreciate that. I really enjoyed this meeting tonight. I think that it was a nice combination of fun and stretching and realizing that humor doesn't have to be so hard. We don't have to be afraid of it. We just need to jump in and try, just like anything else. Jump in, fail, try again, and make it a little bit better. And I think that we demonstrated that tonight. When we weren't sure, we were a little uneasy, and we all kind of just stepped in and helped each other. And that makes it, the idea of a stand-up comedy, seem a little bit less threatening, because for me, that is a very threatening thing. So I appreciate this because it makes it feel more doable, and the challenge that we've agreed to try, a little bit less frightening to me. And I enjoy that the design of the meeting. I think that it's one of the better designs I've seen on utilizing everyone and getting feedback from everyone and all being able to play. And I liked that. I appreciated it. And I think it was well-rounded, and the timing management was good as well. So I thank you all for that. And I especially always like it when we have guests. I think I appreciate Raven, especially you stepping up and putting yourself out there when you weren't even sure what you were coming in for. That's very powerful, and that shows the skill of an advanced speaker. And this is an advanced club, so we really do appreciate that. And Vivian, we always welcome your feedback, your comments. But I have a challenge for you. Now, you are great on radio and you do forecasting and broadcasting all the time, but we never see your face. I want to see you live. That's my challenge to you, to come on one of our meetings and be live where we can actually see you talking. So that's what I'm going to ask you to do. You are great at challenging us, and I'm challenging you back. So I hopefully maybe even before you leave tonight, you'll show us that you're really live and you're not AI. So we appreciate you. We appreciate you and all your insights. You're always give fresh ideas. And I thank all of you for that, and for the team for putting this together tonight. I know Mary and Kyle, you did lots of work behind the scenes, and I appreciate that. With that, I am going to officially close this meeting, and then we will ask that the members stay on, because we'll be doing elections for the following Toastmaster year. And with that, I call the meeting adjourned. Well, and thank you again, Raven and Vivian.
And also, before you guys leave, our next meeting in June, the second Thursday of June, we're supposed to be giving these talks that we are creating out of all this advice we've gotten tonight. So please come back.
So Mary, Emmy, and I have just by participating tonight have volunteered to speak next month. Raven, if you would like to come and deliver your final speech, we'd love to have you come and give it. June 12th.
Sure. We would love that. Thank you for the privilege and the honor. It's a 7-minute speech, typical of a Toastmaster speech. If you could bear with me, it'd be lovely. Thank you, sir, for the icing on the cake.
May I take a moment to offer a suggestion to help Raven with his localization issue? So you are a pilot. So what I would suggest you do is you just eliminate all the names. So the flight plan was we leave the international airport and fly for 2 hours to the small airport to the east. Then we're going to refuel, have some lunch, and fly south to this other small airport, an hour and a half to the south. And you eliminate geography and country altogether by doing that.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Thank you. You've given me the answer I was searching for. Yeah. Thank you.